Hey everyone, welcome back. So you're looking to level up, think bigger, make some real changes, right?
That's what we're all about.
Well, today we're taking a deep dive into a classic, The Magic of Thinking Big. This book by David Schwartz, it's from like 1959.
Yeah, way back.
But it's still so relevant today. It's all about unlocking your potential, and we're going to unpack just how it can help you do just that.
You know, one of the things that really struck me about Schwartz's approach is that he goes beyond just like the typical think positive stuff.
Okay, so it's deeper than that.
Yeah, it's about understanding how deeply our beliefs, even the negative ones, like really shape our actions.
Interesting. Give me an example.
Okay, so imagine you're someone who believes they just can't succeed at starting a business, right?
Okay, I can see that. Lots of people feel that way.
So that belief, it might make you avoid opportunities or not network, maybe even not even bother writing that business plan.
You're basically setting yourself up to fail before you even start.
Exactly. It becomes this like self-fulfilling prophecy because your actions or even your inaction just reflect that limiting belief.
So Schwartz is saying if you believe you'll fail, you probably won't put in the effort needed to succeed.
Right. And he says to really unlock your potential, you got to shift those beliefs. So like instead of I can't, you start asking how can I?
Oh, I like that. It opens up possibilities.
Yeah, totally. It gets you thinking in a different way and helps you take those first steps.
That's such a good point. It's about focusing on solutions instead of getting stuck on the problem.
Exactly. Now, once you start believing in yourself, Short says the next hurdle is, all those excuses we tend to make.
Ugh, the excuses. I know those all too well. How does he say to handle them?
He lays out this framework to kind of break them down. See, he says a lot of the limitations we face are actually like self-imposed. We tell ourselves, I don't have enough time, or I don't have the resources, or I just don't have the skills.
So it's not that the challenges aren't real, but it's how we see them.
Right. And Schwartz, he wants you to challenge those assumptions.
Okay, so like how would that work?
Say you want to write a book, but you keep telling yourself, I just don't have the time. Schwartz would be like, okay, is that really true? Maybe you're prioritizing other things. Could you wake up an hour earlier or use your lunch break to write?
He's pushing you to find a way.
Yeah, it's about looking for those creative solutions.
So taking ownership, figuring out how to make it happen, even if it means like shaking up your routine a bit.
Exactly. All right, so we've talked about beliefs and excuses, and now Schwartz dives into this whole thing about cultivating a positive mental attitude. But, and this is key, it's not just about slapping on a happy face and pretending everything's perfect.
Oh, okay. So there's more to it than just good vibes only. What does he say about a really effective mental attitude?
He gets into specific techniques for managing your self-talk. It's about becoming aware of those negative thoughts and consciously replacing them with something constructive.
So instead of saying, I'm terrible at this, you'd say, I'm learning, I'm getting better.
You got it. It's all about shifting that focus.
That's so interesting. So you're acknowledging the challenge, but you're choosing to focus on the progress and the possibilities instead of that negative self-talk.
Exactly. He actually uses this technique called auto-suggestion, where you basically tell yourself positive affirmations over and over again. It's almost like you're rewiring your brain.
So practical. Schwartz is all about taking these big concepts and giving people actual tools to use.
Right. He's all about action. And he's also clear that a positive mindset doesn't mean ignoring problems. It's about seeing the opportunities within those challenges.
Can you give me an example of how that works in real life?
Sure. Imagine you unexpectedly lose your job, right?
Okay, yeah. Tough situation.
Instead of going down that negative spiral, you could see it as a chance to rethink your whole career path. Maybe you've always dreamed of starting your own business or trying something completely different.
Instead of a failure, it's a new beginning.
A fresh start, exactly.
That's a powerful way to reframe it. It's about looking for that silver lining and using it as fuel to move forward.
You got it. So we've got beliefs, excuses, a positive mental attitude. But Schwartz doesn't stop there. He then walks you through turning those positive thoughts into concrete actions.
This is where the real work starts. Right? It's great to have the right mindset, but you actually have to do something.
Absolutely. And his approach to goal setting is a bit different too. He wants you to set goals that really push you beyond your comfort zone.
So not just achievable goals, but really ambitious ones.
Yes. He calls it building a success consciousness. You have to believe that achieving big things is actually possible for you.
Even if it seems scary or way too big right now.
Even then. And once you have that belief, you got to break those big goals down into a real tangible action plan.
So it's not just about dreaming big, but like actually figuring out the steps to get there.
You got it. He really believes that the key is to break those goals down into smaller, more manageable chunks.
Right. So it feels less overwhelming.
Exactly. It's like climbing a mountain. You don't just stare at the summit the whole time. You focus on that next step, that next handhold.
Love that analogy. Breaking it down makes it feel way less intimidating.
Totally. Now, setting goals and taking action is huge, but Schwartz also talks about the importance of habit formation. He argues that, consistent, positive habits, they're the foundation of lasting success.
So not just one-time actions, but creating a system that helps you reach your goals.
Exactly. He talks about things like planning your day, setting aside time for learning, even practicing gratitude. They may seem small, but done regularly, they can have a big impact.
Making those positive actions a part of your daily routine.
Yes. Imagine spending just 15 minutes every morning planning your day. It could really boost your productivity. Or what if you committed to learning something new every day, even just for 10 minutes?
It all adds up. Those small habits build up over time.
Right, like compound interest. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of what Schwartz covers in The Magic of Thinking Big. We've touched on belief, excuses, having a positive attitude, setting ambitious goals, and building those good habits.
This is already a lot to take in. What's really cool is how he ties it all together.
Yeah.
You can't just pick and choose what you like. It's a whole approach to achieving your goals.
Yeah.
It's like all these pieces work together to create the bigger picture. It's not just thinking positive. You got to do the work, break it down, build those habits.
Exactly. It's holistic. And one thing Schwartz talks about that really resonated with me is this idea of surrounding yourself with the right people. He actually calls it building a think big team.
So the people you spend time with, they really matter.
Huge. The people we're around every day, they can really influence our mindset, Think about it. If you're always with negative people who doubt your dreams.
Yeah, it's got to be hard to stay positive in that environment.
Totally. It's like their negativity can be contagious.
So how do you even go about building this, think big team? Do you just, find the most successful people you can?
It's not necessarily about finding the most successful people. It's more about finding the most supportive and inspiring ones, people who actually believe in you, and who are trying to grow and achieve their own goals, too.
So they push you to be better.
Exactly. They'll challenge you, but in a good way. They'll celebrate your wins and help you stay accountable.
Like your own personal cheer squad.
Aha, exactly. And just as importantly, Schwartz talks about limiting your exposure to those negative influences. Those people who are always complaining, shooting down your ideas.
Oh, yeah, I definitely know the type.
Yeah.
It's crazy how quickly their negativity can bring you down.
It really can. And it's not about being judgmental or cutting people out completely. Sometimes just being aware of how much time you're spending with them, how much energy you're giving them, that can make a big difference. You can still be kind, be respectful.
But you got to protect your own energy, too.
Totally. Prioritize those relationships that actually lift you up and support your growth. Okay, so you're building your Think Big team, but then how do you actually start putting these ideas into practice? I know for me, I can get stuck in the planning phase and have trouble taking that first step.
I feel that. That first step can feel so overwhelming sometimes. Any advice on overcoming that?
Schwartz actually has a great technique for this. Remember how we talked about breaking those big goals down into smaller steps?
Yeah.
Well, he says to do the same thing when it comes to taking action. Instead of getting overwhelmed by the whole thing, just focus on finding one small specific thing you can do right now.
So it's finding that entry point, that one thing that feels doable.
Exactly. And don't get bogged down in perfectionism either. He really emphasizes that taking imperfect action is better than taking no action at all.
It's progress over perfection. Sometimes I get so stuck on wanting to do everything perfectly that I end up doing nothing.
And remember, failure, it's going to happen. It's totally normal. It's part of the process.
You can't let it stop you.
Right. It's not something to be afraid of. It's actually an opportunity to learn, adjust your approach. The key is to not let those setbacks completely derail you.
They're like stepping stones.
Yeah, they're part of the journey. So we're talking about embracing those challenges, using them to grow and learn. And that brings us to another important thing Schwartz highlights: having courage and being resilient. He says that to achieve big things, you got to step outside of your comfort zone, face your fears.
And I think that's where so many people get stuck, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fear can be so paralyzing. What does Schwartz say about dealing with fear?
He doesn't say you have to get rid of fear completely. It's more about learning to act in spite of it. He wants you to confront those fears head on, take calculated risks, and trust that you're more capable than you think.
So not being fearless, but learning to manage the fear, not let it control you.
Right. He actually compares courage to a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Each time you step outside of your comfort zone and face a challenge.
You build up that confidence.
Exactly. You get more resilient. So we're talking about taking those small, courageous steps, trusting that it gets easier the more you do it. This is getting me pumped up. So we've covered supportive networks, taking action, embracing those imperfections, developing courage. What else does Schwartz have in store for us? This is where things get really interesting. He introduces this concept called creative discontent.
Creative discontent. I've never heard that before.
It's kind of cool, right? Basically, he's saying that a certain amount of dissatisfaction with where you are, with the status quo, it can actually be a really powerful motivator.
So like using that feeling of wanting more to push you forward.
Exactly. He's saying we should be ambitious, always looking for ways to improve, to grow.
It's like you're never really done. There's always more to strive for.
Right, but there's a balance, you know? He's not saying you should be constantly restless or unhappy with what you have. It's more about channeling that discontent into positive action.
So appreciating what you have, but not settling.
Yes. And this actually connects to another big part of Schwartz's philosophy. Finding a purpose that's bigger than yourself. He argues that having a strong sense of purpose, something that goes beyond just your personal ambitions, it can give your life meaning and keep you motivated.
I love that. It's like finding your why.
Exactly. It could be anything, you know? Volunteering, a career that aligns with your values, even just being a more loving person. It's about finding what really lights you up and then making sure your actions are in line with that purpose.
What you do and why you do it, it's all connected.
Right. And even small acts of service, when you do them consistently, they can make a difference. It's not always about the big, grand gestures.
It's showing up and doing what you can. This is so inspiring. It's like Schwartz is giving us a guide not just for success, but for a meaningful life.
He is. And he reminds us that thinking bigger, it's a journey. It's not about reaching some final destination. It's about embracing that growth mindset, always learning, always evolving.
It really is incredible how Schwartz connects personal growth with having a real sense of purpose. It's not just about you getting what you want. It's about doing something bigger.
It's powerful, for sure. And reading through the book again, I noticed how much he talks about believing in yourself as the foundation for everything else.
Makes sense. If you don't believe in yourself, how can you even imagine accomplishing anything big? But how do you actually get there? Like, build that self-belief if you've always struggled with self-doubt.
Schwartz has some good practical stuff in there. One that I thought was interesting is this idea of keeping a success journal, what he calls a success consciousness journal.
What is that?
So basically, he says to write down your accomplishments no matter how big or small they are.
So it's like a record of your wins.
Yeah. It's about shifting your focus. Instead of dwelling on like what you haven't done or where you messed up, you're focusing on what you have accomplished, your strengths.
You're basically building a case for your own potential, like one success at a time.
Exactly. And over time, it can really boost your confidence. It reinforces that belief that you can achieve great things. What other strategies does Schwartz suggest for cultivating that belief in yourself?
Well, he also talked a lot about visualization and positive self-talk. He wants you to surround yourself with reminders of your goals and to really work on replacing those negative thoughts with positive ones. So you're creating an environment, both inside and out, that's supportive of those goals.
Yes. Now, while believing in yourself is key, Schwartz is also super clear that you have to back that belief up with action. Like he says, motivation often comes after you've taken action, not before.
That's so true. Sometimes just getting started, even when I don't feel like it, helps me get that motivation going.
Right. He even suggests setting up routines and rituals that support your goals. Even simple stuff like having a specific time each day for focused work or creating a workspace where you can really concentrate.
It's like setting yourself up for success.
Right. It's about creating a structure that works for you. And it's just as important to celebrate those wins along the way, too. Don't downplay them.
Celebrate the small stuff, too.
Absolutely. It keeps you motivated and reinforces that feeling that you're on the right track. But of course, we all know there will be setbacks, right? Challenges. So how does Schwartz say we should handle those moments, when we feel like giving up?
Yeah, those can be tough.
He reminds us that success isn't this finish line you cross. It's a journey. And there will be ups and downs along the way.
So it's not about avoiding the tough stuff, but how you handle it.
Exactly. It's about building resilience, being able to bounce back from challenges, learn from mistakes, and keep going.
It's a good reminder that even when things get hard, you have the power to choose how you respond.
You said it. And I think that's really the heart of the magic of thinking big.
Hmm.
It's about understanding that you have the ability to create the life you want. If you cultivate that mindset of growth, believe in yourself, and embrace the journey, you can really do incredible things.
Wow, this deep dive has been amazing. I feel like we just scratched the surface of the magic of thinking big, though.
I know, right? There's so much in this book.
I definitely recommend everyone listening to check it out. And remember, the key is to actually take action. So what's one small thing you can do today to start thinking bigger and create the life you really want?
That's a great question for everyone listening. Think about it. Start small, be consistent, and trust yourself.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the magic of thinking big. We hope you learned a lot and feel inspired. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep thinking big.